The sky above Veralia burned with strange colors, a mix of gold and deep crimson, as if the planet itself was warning its people. Ships drifted silently in orbit, their lights dim, their engines cold. The humans had left them like that, silent. And without a word, nobody on Veralia truly understood why the humans left. One moment they were here, trading, building, teaching, and the next, they were gone. No war, no message, not even a hint of farewell. Just silence. Their cities on the surface lay empty, the glass towers abandoned, the machines powered. Down, the streets felt haunted. The alien council gathered in the Hall of Echoes, a vast chamber lit by 1,000 floating lanterns. The elders spoke in hushed tones, their voices heavy with unease. Elder Thalos, the oldest among them, raised his thin, silver hand. His voice trembled but carried weight. They did not leave because they were weak, he said. Humans are. Never silent without reason. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Some said the humans had been insulted. Others claimed they found something in the outer sectors, something too dangerous to ignore. But the most frightening rumor was the oldest one, that if humans ever disappeared quietly, it meant they were preparing for something unthinkable. Something no one wanted to face. Ricor, a young officer in the Verelian Defense Fleet, stood at the window of his command post, staring at the empty space where the human fleet once floated. He remembered their massive ships, black steel and bright blue lights, now gone without leaving even a vapor trail. He had fought beside humans once, and he knew what they were capable of. Their silence was far more dangerous than their anger. 3 cycles passed without contact, no messages, no sightings. Even the human trading posts in distant systems were abandoned. The galaxy's balance began to shift. Old rivalries between alien empires started to awaken, without humans. To keep them in check, skirmishes broke out. Alliances weakened, then. Strange reports began to arrive. Ships on the edges of the galaxy were vanishing. Entire outposts went dark overnight. No distress signals, no wreckage, just nothing. The few who managed to escape spoke of a shadow, something vast and cold, moving between the stars, swallowing everything in its path. In the Hall of Echoes, panic started to take root. Council members argued. It's the Karth Dominion testing new weapons, one said. Another shook her head. No. The Karth are as frightened as we are. Elder Thalos remained silent for a long moment before speaking. This is what they feared, he whispered. This is why they left. Ricor felt the same chill the moment he heard those words. The humans hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had gone to prepare. He didn't know what it was, but he knew humans didn't run from fights. If they left, it was because they planned to strike back harder than anyone imagined. That night, Ricor received a private message from an unknown source. The transmission was grainy, filled with static. A human face appeared on the screen, sharp-eyed and calm. If you are seeing this, the voice said, stay off the outer routes. Do not engage the shadows. Wait. The message ended abruptly, leaving more questions than answers. But the warning came too late for many. The outer colonies fell one after another. The shadow moved closer to the core worlds. No one could describe it clearly. Some said it was a swarm of machines. Others a living thing the size of a moon. The only common detail was the fear in the eyes of those who saw it. Then came the moment that changed everything. Ricor was stationed on Verelia's orbital defense platform when his sensors picked up a massive energy surge on the far side of the system. It was not the shadow, it was something else. A fleet emerged from hyperspace, human ships, hundreds of them. Their hulls were darker than before, their shapes sharper, built for war. At the center of the formation was a single colossal vessel, bigger than any ship Ricor had ever seen. Its surface bristled with weapons, its core glowing with an unnatural blue light. The human fleet did not hail the Verelian station. They did not explain their absence. They simply moved forward in tight formation, heading straight for the darkness between the stars. The colossal ship's engines flared, bending light around them. Every alien race with eyes on the system felt the same thing. A deep, instinctive fear. Not of the shadow, but of the thing. The humans had brought with them. This was no ordinary weapon. It pulsed with a presence, as if it was alive on the surface. Crowds gathered to watch the sky. Parents held their children close, whispering old stories about the humans. Rakor stood at the viewport, his chest tight. He realized then that the humans had never truly been part of the Galactic Order. They had always been apart, preparing for something the rest could not see. The colossal ship fired once. The blast was silent in space, but visible across the system, a beam of concentrated energy that tore through the void. Space itself seemed to ripple as the beam struck something unseen. The shadow appeared, writhing and massive, a shape made of endless darkness and shifting edges. It screamed without sound, a ripple of terror spreading through every mind that sensed it. The human fleet moved in, their smaller ships darting like predators, cutting at the shadow's edges. The colossal ship fired again, brighter and stronger. The shadow fought back, lashing out with tendrils of pure void. Several human ships were torn apart, but they did not retreat. From his station, Rakor could barely breathe. He was watching something ancient and terrible. But what frightened him more was the humans themselves. Their silence, their precision, their refusal to explain. It all meant one thing. This was not the first time they had faced such a threat. The battle raged for hours. The shadow shrank with every strike, its darkness burning away under the human weapons. The colossal ship's core began to glow brighter, almost blinding, energy. Readings spiked beyond safe limits. Rakor's instruments screamed warnings. And then, without warning, the humans activated something inside the colossal ship. A sphere of light expanded outward, swallowing the shadow completely. For a moment, there was nothing but white. Then the light collapsed inward, leaving only the human fleet, drifting silently. The colossal ship powered down, its glow fading. The humans did not stay. They turned, reformed their formation, and jumped back into hyperspace without a word. Silence returned to Veralia, but it was a different silence now. Every being who had witnessed the event understood something vital. The humans had unleashed something terrible to protect the galaxy. But whatever that thing was, it was theirs alone. And if they ever chose to use it again, no one could stop them. Rakor stood at the viewport long after the humans vanished. His people would talk about this day for generations. But he knew the truth would never be fully told. The humans had left without a word before, and they could do it again. The galaxy would never know when or where they might return, or what they might bring with them next. Ship lingered in every mind. Its presence had been like a storm, contained in steel, and the weapon it carried was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. The Varelian Council met every day, but their discussions led nowhere. Some wanted to contact the humans and thank them. Others demanded answers, but the truth was clear. Humans spoke when they wanted to, and not before, and now they were silent again. Rakor could not stop thinking about the message he had received. Before the battle, it was too deliberate, too targeted. Why him? He replayed it over and over, hoping to find some hidden meaning in the human's steady voice. But all it said was, "Stay off the outer routes. Do not engage the shadows, wait." It was the word wait that haunted him most. Wait for what? Rumors spread faster than truth. Some said the humans had destroyed the shadow completely. Others claimed it was only wounded, hiding somewhere in deep space. A few even whispered that the colossal ship had not been a human creation at all, but something they had found and mastered. Then came the second wave of disappearances. This time, it was not in the outer systems but closer, inside territories that had been safe for centuries. Ships vanished, stations went dark. The pattern was different, sharper, as if someone was testing weaknesses. Rakor was sent to investigate the loss of a Varelian listening post on the edge of the Karth Dominion. When his small patrol ship arrived, the station was gone, not destroyed, gone. The coordinates showed empty space where it should have been. Sensors picked up faint energy traces unlike anything in known records. As they scanned, a distortion flickered ahead. Space seemed to bend, and for an instant, he saw it. A shape in the void. Not as massive as the shadow, but faster, its surface shimmered like liquid metal. Then it vanished without a trace. Back on Veralia, Riker reported everything. The council was uneasy. "We are being hunted," one elder said. "And the humans know more than they have told us." Elder Thalas closed his eyes, his voice low. They left to prepare for the shadow. But perhaps they were also preparing for something worse. Days later, Rico received another message. This time it came directly to his personal com. The same human appeared, but the tone was different. More urgent. "You saw it, didn't you?" The man asked. Rico hesitated, then nodded. The human leaned closer to the screen. "That wasn't the shadow, that is a scout. They are coming." Rico's pulse quickened. "Who is coming?" he asked, but the transmission cut off. No signal remained, not even a trace in the ship's logs. He didn't have time to think. Orders came for him to escort a convoy of refugee ships away from the border systems. The convoy included alien species from across the sector, old rivals now traveling together for safety. It was a strange sight, but fear made alliances where politics could not. The journey was quiet until the third day, when their long-range sensors picked up an anomaly. A small object, moving faster than any known craft, was approaching from behind. Riker ordered the convoy to maintain course while his ship moved to intercept. The object slowed as it neared, revealing itself not as a ship but a drone, smooth, silver, and featureless. It scanned Rikor's vessel without responding to hails. Then, with impossible speed, it turned and raced away. Rikor's second officer looked at him with wide eyes. "Should we follow?" she asked. Riker thought of the human's warning. "No," he said. "We keep moving." But unease coiled in his chest. The drone had not attacked. It had simply marked them. They reached the rendezvous point without further incident, but Riker could feel it. They were being watched. The humans had fought the shadow openly, but whatever was coming next was more subtle, more calculated. 2 nights later, Veralia received a signal from deep space. It was not a distress call, it was a broadcast. The image was distorted, but the sound was clear. A low, resonant voice, speaking in an unknown language. Yet somehow, everyone who heard it understood the meaning. "We are coming for what is ours." The galaxy erupted into chaos. Armies mobilized, fleets scrambled. But there was no sign of the humans. Their fleets did not appear. Their colossal ship did not return. It was as if they had vanished once more. Riker was summoned to the Hall of Echoes. Elder Thalas stood before the council. "We have been given a choice," he said. "We wait for the humans to act again, or we face this threat ourselves." Many argued, some out of pride, others out of fear. But deep down, they all knew the truth. Without the humans, they had little chance. Riker left the hall and stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The streets below bustled with activity, defenses being built, people preparing for evacuation. He felt a hand on his shoulder. Turning, he saw a figure cloaked in black. The hood fell back, revealing the same human from the transmissions. "You shouldn't be here," Riker said. The human's eyes were sharp, his face unreadable. "Neither should you," he replied. "You've seen too much. You'll be noticed." Riker's voice was tight. "What are they? The ones coming?" The human's gaze shifted to the sky. "They are older than the shadow, older than any of us. And they are patient hunters. They don't destroy everything. They take what they need. Why didn't you warn us sooner?" Riker demanded. The human's expression hardened. "Because warning you changes nothing. You can't fight them yet, and we're not ready," Riker frowned. "Then why are you here?" "To tell you one thing," the human said. "When it starts, stay away from the core worlds. And no matter what you see, do not follow us." Before Riker could speak again, the human stepped back, his form shimmering. Then he was gone, as if he had never been there. That night, Raykor could not sleep. His mind raced with questions. If the humans were not ready, what chance did anyone else have? And what was so dangerous that even the humans feared it? The answer came sooner than he expected. 3 days later, deep space observatories picked up a massive object entering the galaxy. It moved slowly but with purpose, ignoring all hails. The first to intercept was a Karth fleet, 40 warships. They vanished within minutes. No wreckage, no escape pods, nothing from the Varelian capital. Raykor watched the live feeds. The object was vast, far larger than the shadow. Its surface was covered in moving patterns like living armor. Around it swarmed smaller vessels, each one the size of a city. And then, without warning, the human fleet returned. The colossal ship was at their center again. But this time, it was different, larger, reinforced, its glow deeper. Raykor's heart pounded as he realized the truth. The humans had not been idle. They had been building something new. The galaxy held its breath. The humans did not speak, did not explain. They simply moved toward the intruder. The patterns on the alien vessel shifted, forming symbols that no one understood, and in that silent, terrible moment, Raykor knew the battle about to unfold would decide more than just survival. It would decide who truly ruled the galaxy. The colossal human ship moved like a shadow of its own, drifting forward with silent precision. The smaller human warships fanned out, surrounding it in a formation that was both beautiful and terrifying. On every Varelian viewing station, on every alien capital across the galaxy, beings held their breath. The intruder, the massive alien vessel, slowed as if it too had noticed the challenge. Its living armor shifted again, rippling with strange light. The smaller craft around it began to change shape, their outlines blurring. They were alive, Raykor realized, not machines at all, and they were watching. The humans still said nothing. There was no broadcast. No warning, no call for alliance. They didn't ask for help. And they didn't offer it. This battle, whatever it would become, was theirs alone, from the observation deck. Raykor's hands tightened around the rail. He felt it deep inside. This was more than a battle. This was a test. The humans had vanished for a reason. They had returned for a reason. And now, they would show the galaxy why. The first strike came without sound. A flash from the human colossal ship. Not the blinding blue of before, but something darker. A beam of concentrated force punched through the void and struck one of the alien city-sized escorts. The vessel shuddered, its living armor peeling back like torn flesh. The alien responded instantly. The massive ship released a wave of energy that rippled across space. Human fighters were caught in it, their engines faltering, but instead of retreating, the humans adapted. Their ships reformed their formation, twisting through the energy wave with impossible precision. Raykor watched in awe. He had fought alongside humans before. But this was different. This was no desperate defense. This was calculated, controlled destruction. The colossal ship fired again. Another alien escort ripped apart. Its remains dissolved into glittering dust. The alien vessel changed tactics. Its armor split open, revealing hundreds of smaller insect-like drones. They swarmed forward in a living cloud, moving faster than any missile. The human fleet responded with eerie coordination. Smaller ships darted through the swarm, each one trailing streams of burning plasma, carving through the drones like fire through dry grass. Still, the alien force pushed forward. For every drone destroyed, more appeared from within the living hull. The colossal ship began charging something. Raykor could feel the shift in energy even from this distance. The glow from its core deepened, pulsing like a heartbeat, and then it happened. A burst of light erupted from the colossal ship. But this was not a weapon in the usual sense. It was a net, an expanding sphere of glowing filaments that wrapped around the alien drones. The filaments tightened, compressing until the drones shattered into dust. Gasps filled the Varelian Hall of Echoes. No one had seen such a weapon before. It wasn't just destruction. It was control. The humans had found a way to bind and break living machines. But the alien vessel was far from defeated. It released a deep pulse, a sound that bypassed ears and sank into the mind. Raykor staggered. Gripping the rail, around him, others groaned or fell. The sound was inside them, pulling at something primal. It was fear, raw and suffocating. The human fleet didn't falter. They closed ranks around the colossal ship, protecting it as its core continued to pulse. A low hum built in the vacuum, and space itself seemed to warp around the human flagship. Without warning, the colossal ship vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. The alien vessel hesitated, and that was when the humans struck. They reappeared above the alien's hull, impossibly close. The colossal ship's underbelly opened, revealing a weapon unlike any Raykor had seen. It was not a cannon or missile launcher. It was a spiral of glowing metal, spinning faster and faster until it blurred. A beam of twisted energy shot downward, not in a straight line but spiraling as it struck. The alien's living armor recoiled, peeling away in massive chunks. Beneath it was not machinery, but something organic, a pulsating core of black-red flesh. The alien howled, not with sound, but with force. The shockwave knocked smaller human ships aside. Some spun out of formation, others were destroyed outright. But the humans did not stop. The colossal ship kept firing, drilling deeper into the alien's flesh. The alien vessel tried to escape. Its escorts pushed forward in a desperate bid to block the humans. But the human fleet tore through them with precision strikes. They didn't waste shots. Every blast landed where it would hurt most. The battle raged for what felt like hours, but in truth, it was minutes. The alien's core began to collapse inward, pulling the living armor with it. The colossal ship backed away, its glow dimming slightly, and then the alien vessel imploded, leaving only fragments drifting in the void. Silence filled the galaxy. Once more, the humans reformed their formation. The colossal ship turned, and for the first time, it broadcast a signal. The image appeared across every major system. Raykor's breath caught. It was the same human who had sent him the warnings. His voice was calm, steady. This was only the first. He said, "The others will come. Prepare your worlds, or you will not survive." The message ended. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving nothing behind but the wreckage of the enemy and 1,000 new questions on Veralia. Council erupted into chaos. Some demanded immediate preparation for war. Others argued for diplomacy. But deep down, they all knew the truth. This was not a war they could fight without the humans. Raykor left the council chamber without speaking. The human's words replayed in his head. This was only the first. What did that mean? How many more of these things were out there? As he walked the streets of the capital, he noticed something strange. People were no longer speaking of the humans with resentment or suspicion. Now, they spoke of them with a kind of fearful respect. Even the children whispered stories about the colossal ship, calling it the Silent Star. But Raykor couldn't shake the feeling that there was something the humans weren't telling anyone. The way they had vanished, the way they fought, the weapons they used, it was all too precise, too practiced. This wasn't the first time they had faced such an enemy. That night, as he looked up at the sky, his comm device lit up. It was another transmission. No image this time, only a voice. "Raykor," the human said, "if you want answers, meet me at the old human outpost on Verelia's northern ridge. Come alone." The message ended without coordinates, but Raykor knew exactly where to go. The old outpost was a relic from the humans' first arrival on Verelia. Long abandoned, he had been there once as a cadet. The thought of returning now sent a chill through him. Still, he went. The outpost loomed in the moonlight. Its steel walls rusted, its lights long dead. He stepped inside, the air heavy with dust. A faint glow came from the main chamber, and there, standing beside an ancient console, was the human. "You came," the man said. His eyes were tired but sharp. "Good, because we don't have much time." "What are they?" Raykor asked without preamble. The human studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We call them the harvesters," he said. "They come every few thousand cycles. They strip entire systems, not just resources but life itself. The shadow you saw before, that was only a stray predator. These are the real threat." Riker's throat tightened. "And there are more?" The human's gaze didn't waver. "Yes, and they're already on their way." Riker stood frozen in the abandoned human outpost, his heart pounding against his chest. The human's words echoed in his mind. The harvesters, they strip entire systems. They take life itself. The man before him seemed calm, too calm for someone. Speaking of such horror, his face was worn, lines etched deep into his skin, but his eyes burned with a sharp light. He was no ordinary soldier, Riker realized. This man had seen things, survived things, that most beings could never imagine. "How many are coming?" Riker asked. His voice sounded smaller than he intended. The human's gaze did not soften. "More than you can count. The one you saw, that was only a scout. The true fleets move slowly. But when they arrive, they don't stop. They harvest. Until there is nothing left." Riker clenched his fists. "Then why tell me this? Why not tell the Council? Why not warn every world?" The human shook his head. "Because panic destroys faster than war. And because not everyone can be trusted. The harvesters are not only hunters of flesh and stone. They are masters of influence. They twist minds, they infiltrate, they make allies turn against each other before the blade even falls." Riker felt a chill deeper than any cold wind. "You think they're already here?" The human nodded once. "I know they are. Your council is already arguing over who to blame, who to fight. That is the harvesters' first victory. They don't need to fire a weapon to win battles. They make you fight yourselves." Riker stepped closer, his voice low. "Then what do the humans plan? You left without a word. You built that ship, those weapons. You fought the shadow like it was nothing. What are you really preparing for?" The man studied him for a long moment, then spoke. "We left because we knew the harvesters were waking. Our archives recorded them, hidden from most of the galaxy. We knew that if we stayed, if we tried to warn others, no one would believe. US worse, some would betray us. So we vanished. We built what we needed in silence." Riker swallowed, his throat dry. "The colossal ship, it was more than just a weapon, wasn't it?" The human's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "It is a key, a shield, and a spear. It can destroy, yes, but it can also seal. It was designed not just to fight them, but to close the paths they used to enter this galaxy. For the first time." Riker felt a flicker of hope, but it faded as quickly as it came. "Can one ship do that against so many?" The human's eyes hardened. "Not one ship, many. We have built others, scattered across hidden systems, and more are being made. But even that may not be enough. The harvesters adapt every time we fight them. They learn the weight of those." Words pressed against Riker's chest. He realized then that the humans were not confident victors. They were desperate survivors fighting an endless tide. A sound echoed through the outpost. A sharp, metallic click. The human's head snapped. Toward the shadows, his hand went to his weapon instantly. Riker followed his gaze. From the darkness emerged a figure, cloaked in shimmering silver. Its body shifted as it stepped into the dim light. Not solid, not liquid, but something in between. Its face was smooth, without features, but its presence radiated malice. "A harvester spy," the human muttered. His weapon flashed, a sharp pulse of blue energy striking the creature. The figure staggered, its form rippling. But it did not fall. Instead, it hissed, not with sound, but directly into their minds. "We see you, we hear you. You cannot hide." Riker's knees buckled under the mental weight of the voice. His vision blurred. The spy took a step closer, its hand elongating into a blade of silver. The human moved without hesitation. "Stay behind me," he ordered. He pulled a small device from his belt, slammed it against the floor. A wave of energy burst outward. The spy shrieked silently as its form destabilized. It melted into the floor, vanishing like smoke. The outpost fell quiet again. Rikor's chest heaved as he tried to steady his breath. That thing was already here, he whispered. The human nodded grimly. And it wasn't alone. They are probing us, testing, slipping spies into our cities, into our councils. They'll spread fear, doubt, and division until we break ourselves. That's how they prepare the ground before the harvest begins. Rikor pressed a hand against the wall to steady himself. Then we must tell the council now. We must expose this threat. The human shook his head firmly. No, if you tell them now, they'll panic, and panic feeds the harvesters. They thrive on chaos. If your people start tearing each other apart, you'll be doing their work for them. Rikor's jaw tightened. Then what do we do? The human leaned closer, his voice low. We watch, we wait, we prepare. And when the time comes, we strike where it hurts. But you must understand, this fight will not be won by councils or armies. It will be won by those who can endure. Silence, secrecy, and sacrifice. Rikor stared at him, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing against his shoulders. Why me? Why tell me this? The human's eyes locked onto his, sharp as blades. Because you still listen. Most leaders have already closed their ears. They only hear their own fear. But you, he paused, his gaze steady. You still hear the truth, and that makes you dangerous to them and valuable to us. Before Rikor could respond, the outpost shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alarms long dead sparked back to life. A deep hum rose from beneath the ground. The human cursed under his breath. They found us. The walls rippled with silver light, and more harvester spies began to emerge, crawling out of the shadows. Their faceless heads tilted in eerie unison. Their voices poured into the air, overlapping whispers that clawed at the mind. Surrender, yield, you cannot resist. Rikor drew his weapon, though his hands trembled. The human pulled a device from his pack, slamming it onto the console. The machine whirred, lights flashing. This will burn them out, he said. But we need to hold them long enough. The first spy lunged. Rikor fired. The shot tore through its chest, but the wound closed almost instantly. Another leapt forward, its blade arm slashing across the wall. Sparks flew. The human moved with deadly precision, every shot from his weapon striking where it mattered most. Still, more poured in. The chamber filled with shifting silver shapes, their whispers pressing harder. Rikor's vision blurred again. His knees buckled. His thoughts began to fracture. Give up. Yield, die. Then the console device activated. A surge of energy exploded outward. The spies screeched in unison, their forms unraveling. They melted into puddles of silver liquid, which evaporated into nothing. Silence fell once more. Rikor collapsed against the wall, his breath ragged. The human shut down the device, his face grim. This was only a probe. They know we're here. Now they'll come harder next time. Rikor looked at him, sweat dripping down his brow. How do you fight something that never stops? The human's gaze turned cold. By never stopping either. We've learned that the only way to beat them is to outlast them, to hurt them faster than they can adapt, and sometimes to sacrifice what we must to keep the rest alive. Rikor's voice cracked. Sacrifice what? The human's expression hardened. You'll see. At that moment, the come on Rikor's wrist lit up. The council was calling. Voices frantic, reports of sightings, ships vanishing, people whispering voices. In their heads, the harvesters were not waiting anymore. They were here, and they had begun. The council chamber roared with panic. Dozens of voices clashed, each shouting louder than the next. Reports of disappearances and strange visions flooded the airwaves. Whole towns on the outer rim had gone silent. Convoys had vanished mid-journey. And some who returned spoke in broken voices, whispering that their minds had been touched by something cold and endless. Rikor stood at the edge of the chamber, his body tense. The words of the human at the outpost echoed in his head. Spies, division, sacrifice. He saw it happening already. The harvesters had not yet unleashed their full power, but they had planted fear. Fear was spreading faster than fire. Elder Thalos pounded his staff against the marble floor, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Enough," he said. His eyes swept across the chamber. "Arguing will not save us. The harvesters are real. You've all seen their work. You've all heard their whispers. The humans told us this would come." The word humans triggered another wave of anger. A counselor with emerald skin rose, his voice sharp. "And where are they now? They appear when it suits them and vanish when it doesn't. Why should we trust them? How do we know they are not the cause of this?" The chamber erupted again. Some shouted in agreement, others in protest. Rekor clenched his fists, his patience snapped. "Enough!" He shouted, his voice carried louder than he expected. The room went quiet, eyes turning to him. His chest tightened, but he didn't falter. "I saw them fight," Rekor said. "I saw them bleed. They are not our enemy. The harvesters are. The humans left because they knew what was coming. And now we are standing here wasting time while the enemy grows stronger." Murmurs rippled through the chamber, but Elder Thalos nodded slowly. "Rekor speaks true," he said. "The humans may not explain themselves, but they have faced the harvesters before. If not for them, the shadow would have consumed us already." The emerald-skinned counselor sneered. "So you would place our survival in their hands? You would trust ghosts?" Rekor's voice hardened. "If ghosts are the only ones who can fight this, then yes." The council dissolved into whispers again, but Rekor's cum device buzzed against his wrist. He glanced down, his blood went cold, a single word pulsed on the screen. Now he knew who it was. Without waiting for permission, he left the chamber. His steps echoed in the empty hallways as he made his way to the shuttle bays. The human had called, and that meant something was about to happen. The shuttle ride to the northern ridge felt longer than it was. When he arrived, the outpost was empty, but a trail of lights flickered in the dirt, guiding him to a nearby canyon. At the canyon's edge, a ship waited, its hull black and sleek, unmistakably human. The ramp lowered, the same human stepped out, his face shadowed under the fading light. "Good," he said. "You came quickly." Rekor's pulse raced. "What is happening?" The man's eyes flicked to the sky. "They're here," before Rekor could ask who. The clouds above ripped open. A swarm of silver shapes descended, dozens, maybe hundreds, moving like a single living storm. Their whispers struck instantly, piercing into Rekor's skull. "Yield, submit, you are ours," Rekor staggered, pressing his hands against his ears though it did nothing. The human moved with calm precision, pressing a device into Rekor's palm. "Focus on this. It will dampen their voice." The device vibrated in Rekor's hand, and the whispers dulled to a low hum. His vision cleared. He looked up just as the swarm reached the canyon. The human ship's cannons roared to life, beams of blue fire tearing into the swarm. The silver forms screamed, their bodies splitting apart, but for everyone destroyed. Another emerged. The human shouted over the noise, "Inside now." Rekor ran up the ramp, the human close behind. The ship sealed. Engines flaring, it shot upward, weaving through the swarm. Drones smashed against the hull, clawing at the metal like wild beasts. Sparks flew as claws scraped deep. "Why are they after us?" Rekor demanded, gripping the rail as the ship spun violently. The human's jaw tightened. "Because they know who I am." Rekor's breath caught. "Then who are you?" The man's hands moved swiftly over the controls, his eyes never leaving. "The swarm, my name is Kale. I was there the last time we fought them. I survived when entire worlds did not. And now they want me silenced." The swarm closed in. Rekor felt his chest tighten again. Kale slammed a fist against a console. "Hold on," he barked. The ship's engines flared brighter, and a shockwave burst outward, knocking the drones back. In the sudden opening, the ship dove into hyperspace. The stars stretched, silence replacing the chaos. Rekor collapsed into a seat, his hands trembling. Kale finally turned to him, his face grave. You wanted answers. You'll get them now. Riker swallowed hard. What are the harvesters? Where did they come from? Kale leaned back, his eyes distant. We don't know where they were born. Some say they were made. Others that they evolved from the void itself. What we do know is this. They have ended civilizations older than ours. They come like tides, stripping everything until only husks remain. Then they vanish, waiting for new growth before returning. Riker felt a cold weight in his stomach. And humanity fought them before? Kale nodded slowly. We didn't win, not really. We slowed them, we sealed some of their gates. But at a cost you can't imagine. Entire continents burned, oceans boiled, billions sacrificed, and still, they come back. Riker's throat tightened. Then what chance do we have now? Kale's eyes hardened. More than before, we've learned, we've built. The silent star you saw was only the beginning. There are others now, scattered across the galaxy. Weapons and ships designed for this war. But they come with a price. Riker leaned forward, his voice sharp. What price? Kale's gaze met his, unflinching. We cannot fight them and save everyone. Some worlds will be sacrificed, left as bait, to slow the harvester's advance. It is the only way to gather time. To strike their cores, Riker's stomach turned. Sacrifice worlds? Millions of lives? Kale's voice was cold steel. Billions die either way. This way, at least some survive. Riker recoiled, his mind spinning. He wanted to argue, to call it madness. But deep down he knew Kale was not lying. The harvesters were endless, and no strategy would save everyone. Before he could respond, alarms flared. The ship dropped out of hyperspace into a vast empty sector. Ahead floated a structure so massive it stole Riker's breath. It was not a ship, but a fortress, human-built, stretching across an asteroid field, bristling with cannons, humming with power. Kale's voice softened for the first time. Welcome to Bastion Zero. This is where the real war begins. The ship docked. Riker stepped out into the hangar. Hundreds of humans moved with disciplined speed. Soldiers in dark armor, engineers welding new weapons, pilots preparing ships. The air vibrated with purpose. With determination, Kale walked beside him. We don't reveal this place to outsiders, but you've seen too much already, and now you have a choice. Return to your council and tell them nothing, or stay and become part of this fight. Riker looked around, his mind reeling. Everywhere he turned, humans worked in silence, their faces grim but unyielding. He realized then why they had left without a word. They hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had been building a wall in the dark, a wall no one else could have dreamed of. Riker's voice was quiet but steady. I will stay. Kale studied him, then nodded once. Then prepare yourself, because the harvesters are already moving faster than we expected. At that moment, a deep tremor shook the fortress. Sirens blared. A voice rang out across the hangar. Harvester fleet detected. Multiple signatures inbound. Riker's blood ran cold. He had chosen his side, but he had no idea if any of them would survive what was coming. The alarm shook Bastion Zero as red lights flashed across the hangar. Human soldiers moved into formation with perfect coordination. Engines roared to life, weapons hummed with power. The entire fortress seemed to awaken like a slumbering giant. Riker stood frozen, watching the chaos unfold. He had seen battles before, but never this. There was no fear in the humans' faces, only grim determination. They had prepared for this moment, and now it had come. Kale grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a command platform overlooking the hangar. You wanted answers, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. Now you'll see them. The platform lit with holographic displays, showing the incoming fleet. Dozens of harvester vessels were breaking into the system, sliding out of the void like predators emerging from the dark. They moved in eerie silence, their living hulls glistening with shifting silver. Behind them loomed something larger, a harvester carrier. Vast enough to blot out the stars. Riker's breath caught. There are too many, he whispered. Kale's expression was grim. There are always too many. The fortress shuddered as its outer cannons powered up. A voice filled the command. Platform, sharp and commanding. Primary shields at maximum. Weapon arrays locked. All units prepare for deployment. Raykor leaned over the rail, watching as wave after wave of human ships launched from the hangar. They moved in flawless formation, smaller ships darting like sparks, larger ones aligning in tight rows. Every move was deliberate, precise. The harvesters struck first. Their swarm of drones poured forward, silver clouds streaking toward the fortress. Bastion Zero's cannons opened fire, beams of blue and red tearing holes through the swarm. Explosions lit the void, but the drones kept coming, replacing every loss instantly. Raykor gripped the rail, his chest tight. It's endless. Kale didn't look away from the display. That's the point. They overwhelm. They smother. They don't care how many die, because there is always more. The fortress trembled again as the swarm slammed into its shields. Sparks of energy crackled across the barriers, but they held. Human ships dove into the chaos, weaving through drones, cutting them down with ruthless precision. Then the carrier moved, its living hull split open, and from it emerged something worse. Harvester warforms, each the size of a city, their shapes twisted and changing, limbs reshaping into cannons, blades, and claws. They surged forward with terrifying speed. Raykor's stomach turned. How do you fight something like that? Kale's eyes narrowed. Watch. The colossal human ship, the Silent Star, emerged from the asteroid shadow. Its dark hull glowed with that unnatural blue light. Every harvester drone turned toward it, as if recognizing a hated enemy. The Silent Star's core pulsed, then unleashed a spiral beam that ripped through one of the warforms, tearing it apart from the inside. The fortress shook again, but this time with cheers. The humans pressed the attack. Smaller ships darted around the warforms, distracting them, while heavier cruisers unleashed concentrated fire on weak points. They moved like predators that had hunted these things before, but the harvesters adapted. The surviving warforms shifted, their armor thickening, their limbs reforming into long tendrils of energy. They lashed out, striking human ships with terrifying accuracy. Several vessels exploded, burning across the void. Raykor flinched as each ship was lost, his chest tightened. They're dying. Kale's voice was flat, unyielding. They knew they would. Every pilot here understands this fight may be their last. But if they don't hold, none of us live. The Silent Star fired again, another warform collapsing into burning fragments. But as it did, the carrier itself began to shift. Its surface opened like a wound, and from within came something new, a harvester construct unlike the others. Its body stretched like a serpent of silver and black, eyes burning with cold light. It was massive, larger even than the Silent Star. The command platform filled with gasps. The fortress sensors screamed warnings. Kale's face hardened. So, they've sent one already. Raykor's voice shook. What is it? Kale's gaze didn't leave the display. A Harvester Prime, their commanders. Each one carries the memory of thousands of battles. Killing it is harder than killing a world. The Prime surged forward, its body twisting through the void. The Silent Star moved to meet it. The two titans collided in a clash of light and darkness. The Prime's tendrils lashed around the human ship, dragging it closer. The Silent Star's weapons blazed, tearing chunks from the monster, but the Prime's flesh reformed instantly. The fortress poured fire into the battle, but the Prime ignored it. Its focus was on the Silent Star, on destroying the one weapon capable of stopping it. Kale slammed his fist against the console. They're testing us. If the Silent Star falls here, the harvesters will know we're not ready. Raykor felt helpless, watching as the colossal human ship struggled. Its shields flared, cracking under the Prime's relentless assault. Crew reports filled the comms, voices calm but grim. They were not retreating, they were holding, no matter the cost. The Prime opened its maw, a void of swirling energy gathering inside. Raykor's breath caught. It's going to consume them. But the Silent Star's core flared brighter, light spilling across the battlefield. Kale's eyes widened. They're activating it. A shockwave of energy burst from the silent star, blasting the prime backward. The harvester monster writhed, its tendrils snapping. For a moment, hope flickered. But then the prime surged forward again. Stronger than before, the command deck filled with alarms, shields at 50%. HULL damage across sectors. Kale's voice was steel. They can't hold alone. He turned sharply to Rykor. You wanted to help? You wanted to matter? Then it's time. Rykor's stomach lurched. What do you mean? Kale grabbed his shoulder, his grip like iron. There's a weapon buried inside this fortress, built for this moment. But it requires 2 keys, one human, one not. That's why I brought you here. Before Rykor could argue, Kale dragged him toward the lower levels. Soldiers cleared the way, their eyes grim but determined. They knew where their leaders were going, and they knew what it meant. They entered a chamber deep beneath the fortress. A massive device rested in the center, a sphere of dark metal etched. With glowing lines, it pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Rykor felt its power before Kale even touched it. This is the core lance, Kale said, his voice reverent. It can pierce a harvester prime, but it needs 2 wills to activate, human and alien united. Without both, it will burn itself out. Rykor hesitated, fear coiling in his chest. And what happens to us? Kale's eyes met his, unflinching. We don't walk away. Rykor's breath caught, his heart pounded. He thought of his people, of Veralia, of the children whispering stories of the silent star. He thought of the harvesters stripping worlds into dust, and he nodded. Then let's do it. They stepped onto the platform together. Kale placed his hand on one side of the sphere. Rykor placed his on the other. The lines flared, the chamber trembling. Energy surged through Rykor's body, searing his veins, his vision filled with blinding light. But he held on. The core lance roared to life. A beam of pure light erupted from the fortress, slicing through the void. It struck the Harvester Prime square in the chest. The monster screamed without sound, its body convulsing as the beam tore through it. Its flesh dissolved, its tendrils burned away. The silent star surged forward, firing everything it had. The prime twisted, shuddered, and finally collapsed. Exploding into fragments of ash and silver, the battlefield fell silent. The swarm faltered, drones scattering. Warforms collapsing. The carrier recoiled, retreating into the void. The harvesters had been pushed back. But in the chamber, Rykor collapsed to his knees, his body shaking. The core lance dimmed. Kale's face was pale, blood running from his nose. He smiled faintly. We did it, Rykor gasped for breath. But at what cost? Kale's eyes closed, his voice a whisper. The cost is never enough, not against them. But today, we live. The battlefield drifted in silence. Fragments of broken drones and shattered warforms, glowing faintly as they burned in the void. The Harvester Prime was gone, its remains scattered like ash on the wind. For the first time in living memory, a Harvester fleet had been forced to retreat. Inside Bastion Zero, the fortress hummed with fading power. The core lance dimmed, its glow reduced to a faint pulse. In the chamber below, Rykor collapsed onto the cold floor, his chest heaving. The last of the energy drained from his body. His hands still burned as if fire had been etched into his skin. Kale lay nearby, pale and trembling. Blood streaked from his eyes and nose, but he was alive. His lips curled into a faint, tired smile. You held, he whispered. You didn't break. Rykor tried to speak, but his throat felt raw. His voice came out hoarse. We stopped it. Kale's head turned slowly toward him, his gaze heavy with exhaustion. Stopped one, he said. Not the war. Soldiers rushed into the chamber, medics kneeling beside them. They tried to lift Kale, but he pushed their hands away weakly. See to him first, he muttered, nodding at Rykor. The medics worked quickly, injecting stabilizers, wrapping his scorched hands. The pain dulled but never left. Rykor forced himself upright, gripping the edge of the console for balance. How many more of those primes are out there? He asked. Kale's expression was grim. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Every region of the galaxy will face them. Some will fall before we can reach them. Rakor's stomach turned. Then this victory means nothing. Kale's eyes hardened. It means everything. The harvesters bleed. The galaxy saw it happen. That knowledge alone can buy us time. Time to build. Time to unite. The words sank deep. Rakor realized that for all their strength, the humans were not promising salvation. They were promising only struggle. Endless struggle. And yet, there was no other choice. News of the victory spread faster than light. Across the galaxy, worlds that had whispered fear of the harvesters now shouted in disbelief. The humans had faced the impossible and survived. Some called them saviors. Others called them monsters with forbidden weapons. But none could deny the truth. Humanity had returned. In the Hall of Echoes, the Varelian Council met once more. Their voices were filled with tension. Some celebrated, some feared. Elder Thalas stood in silence as arguments raged. At last he raised his staff, his voice steady. The humans have revealed what we always suspected, that their silence was not abandonment, but preparation. We can argue about trust, but we cannot argue about what we saw. Without them, we are nothing against this threat. Even the loudest dissenters could not refute him. For once, silence filled the chamber. Meanwhile, aboard Bastion Zero, Rakor walked the corridors of the fortress. Everywhere he looked, humans moved with quiet focus. Soldiers prepared for deployment. Engineers rebuilt damaged weapons. Medics treated the wounded. There was no celebration, only readiness. Humanity treated victory not as triumph, but as survival. Bought with blood. He found Kale recovering in the medical wing. His face pale but his eyes still sharp. Rakor sat beside him. You should be resting. Kale gave a faint smile. Rest comes after extinction. Until then we work. Rakor studied him for a long moment. Why bring me into this? You could have kept your secrets. Kale's gaze turned serious. Because humans can't do this alone. We tried once. We fought alone, and we nearly died. The galaxy will not follow us willingly, but it might follow one of its own who has seen the truth. Rakor froze. You want me to speak for you? Kale nodded slowly. Not for us, for the war, for survival. You've seen the harvesters with your own eyes. You've felt their whispers. Your voice can carry where ours cannot. Rakor's chest tightened. He had never sought power, never wished for command, but he could not deny the weight in Kale's words. And if they don't listen? Kale's smile was grim. Then they will die, and we will fight alone again. Before Rakor could answer, alarms blared once more. Soldiers rushed through the halls, voices sharp with urgency. Kale tried to rise, but the medics forced him back. Rakor turned to a nearby officer. What is it? The officer's face was pale. A signal, not harvester human. They're calling the fleet. Rakor followed them to the command deck. The displays lit with a single transmission. An image filled the air. A woman in human uniform, her presence radiating authority. Her voice was calm, but carried iron beneath it. All forces, she said. The Prime is dead, but the war is far from over. Our scouts confirm harvester fleets are advancing on 3 sectors. They will arrive within weeks. Bastion Zero will not stand alone. Every weapon, every ship, every soldier must move. Humanity does not fight for itself, but for all who still breathe. If others will not stand, then we will stand for them. If they do not join, then they will be lost. Choose now. The transmission ended. The deck was silent. Rakor felt the weight of her words pressing against his chest. It was not a speech of hope, but of reality. Humanity was forcing the galaxy to decide, fight or perish. Later, Rakor returned to his quarters within the fortress. He stood before the viewport, watching as ships assembled outside. The silent star loomed in the distance, still scarred from the battle but steady. More human warships poured into the system, forming a vast fleet. He thought of Viralia, of the council arguing in fear. of the people whispering about ghosts. He thought of the harvesters, endless and patient, waiting in the dark, and he thought of the humans, silent no longer, carrying weapons that bent reality itself. Kale's voice echoed in his memory. "We don't walk away." Ricor clenched his fists. His voice was quiet but certain. "Then neither will I." Days later, Ricor stood once more in the Hall of Echoes. This time, his presence commanded silence. He told them everything: the spies, the swarm, the prime, the core lance, the cost. Some counselors shouted in disbelief, others in fear, but Ricor did not waver. At last, Elder Thalas rose, his frail form steady. "I believe him," he said. "And I say this, we can no longer stand apart. If humanity fights, we fight beside them. Not because we trust them, not because we love them, but because survival demands it." The vote that followed was not unanimous, but it was enough. For the first time, Veralia declared alliance with humanity. Across the galaxy, similar choices were made. Some worlds refused, choosing isolation. Others joined, driven by fear or desperate hope. A fragile coalition began to take shape, forged not from trust, but from necessity. Bastion Zero became the center of this new alliance. Fleets gathered, weapons shared, secrets exchanged. Humanity remained at its core, silent but unyielding. Ricor trained alongside human soldiers, learning their discipline, their silence, their relentless drive. He felt himself changing, shaped by the war that had already begun. He was no longer just an officer of Veralia. He was part of something larger. One night, he stood with Kale on the observation deck, watching the fleet assemble. The stars beyond were beautiful, but heavy with threat. "Do you ever think we can win?" Ricor asked quietly. Kale's eyes stayed on the stars. "Winning isn't the word. Surviving is. Every battle we hold, every world we save, that is victory enough." Ricor nodded slowly. The words were heavy, but true. The alarm lights glowed again. A voice rang out across the fortress. "Harvester fleets detected. 3 fronts inbound. All forces prepare for deployment." Ricor exhaled, his pulse steady. The war had only begun. The humans had left without a word, but they had returned carrying the thing the galaxy feared most: the truth. The harvesters were endless, but so too was humanity's will. And now, united or not, the galaxy would learn what it meant to fight beside them.